Steve,
to
one second.
read
Hey,
their stories. Everything's a story. Go ahead.
awesome. Everyone, hi. We're live. We are active. I just want to introduce Steve Lloyd. I myself is Yarek Dudenko, and we have Nick Tang as well. So we're going to be talking about notes, and Steve Lloyd is going to be sharing some gems, some great knowledge throughout his experience, his past events that has occurred, and what he's done and what he's going to be doing moving forward, how this business works, and exactly what can we learn as a group. And Steve, thank you for coming out. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Your knowledge is definitely something that we all can benefit from. And I'm really excited to have you here and Nick Tang as well. So let's jump into it. Steve, we are now live. We are adding more and more people as we speak. So for those who might not know you, right, what exactly do you do? Who are you? And how would the viewers be able to benefit from moving forward and viewing this live stream?
Steve doesn't need an introduction.
Yep. So my name is Steve Lloyd. Well, there might be a couple. My name is Steve Lloyd. I originally in Delaware County, Westchester area of Pennsylvania for pretty much my whole life, 50 years. I have a fund. It's called Stone Bay Holdings. I have about 26 different LLCs. I've raised over $200 million. I raised a tremendous amount of capital. I buy distressed mortgages. I create notes from basically scratch. I teach people how to, teach people how they can self-directed IRA and create a note out of that instead of going to the bank. So today there's 3 pillars in Stone Bay. Basically, I have 15 partners. They go find assets. I have couple apartment building guys that we buy apartment buildings over 20 million. I lend out private capital to about 12 or 13 people. Don't call me for a loan because I won't give it to you. When I do loan money, it's usually into $500,000 to $5 million range. So this week, I'm lending somebody $1 million. Last month, I lent somebody $2 million to buy notes. And then about 4 months ago, I lent somebody $4 million to buy notes. So, but that was from working up from the very beginning. So I know you have a lot of new people on the show. And then I do the lending to capital and the charged off second mortgages. So that's what Stone Bay is made up. I always like to mention Carrie. Carrie Fakes is my extraordinary partner that everybody wants to steal her from me, but I will shoot them. So get that right out of the clear.
You got to be protective of what you have. So Steve, you said you started from, that's where you started. So where exactly did you start? Did you start with a few $1 million in the bank, or you start from zero and kind of moved yourself up? How did it look for you in the beginning?
So my journey started about 2006. Right about when the bubble was going to burst. I was out in Western Pennsylvania, a partner. I actually went into the mortgage business, mortgages for investors that were buying multiple properties a year. And then I just, there was a lot of talk of rehabbing, and that's when I started buying properties about 12 years ago in Fallcroft, Pennsylvania. And it was I think I got one bank loan, and then everything went to hell in a handbasket. So I was like, well, how can I buy these instead of going to the bank? And I looked at just the way they structured it. And then, someone that we've been brothers since I've been like 18 years old, Dave Van Horn, he was using credit cards. So I kind of just, his thought process and the way he did it with credit cards, exact same way, I kind of did it on steroids, and I started using individual people to be able to buy my property. And, what I do is if I had a property that say cost me $100,000 and I needed $20,000 to rehab that property, I needed to know that after repair value was like $150,000. So I taught someone, and we created a note so I could buy that property. So a note, a mortgage, and everything that backs that property with the lending of it. And then I would get that property rehabbed. I'd get it stabilized. I paid my investor a 10 or 12% return. Then they would get paid either in their regular money or I taught them how to use self-directed IRAs from CAMA Plan. And then once I got through my first one or two, it was like, holy Moses, I just helped someone create a note for me to buy my property that I didn't have to go to the bank and they ran my credit score, and I didn't have much in the bank then. I didn't have to show financials, but I just needed to teach people how to create a note for me and educate them on how they didn't need to be in the stock market anymore. And as I got to 8 or 9 properties, it just kind of, I always push myself. So it went to 8 to 9, then I went to Temple and built $500,000 properties. It's almost the same thing. It's all just leveraging those notes that has turned into Stone Bay, where I bring in capital. It's a little different with the private placement, but able to teach me to raise capital, how I started all that out. So it was just, and then I read a book, Nick, you probably know this, George Anton has The Banker's Code. And I just tell everybody, I've never met George before. He's probably in Hawaii because I've probably sold more books for him than he has sold himself. But I just put a book because it's the basic fundamentals of leveraging money and creating notes. It's just a phenomenal book, and it really changed my life and the outlook on, there's rehabbers, there's people that wholesale, there's all these different facets of real estate. But where I fell in was really, Nick, 13 years, not that many people in the note world, not like today. And I kind of just grew with the note world and the raising capital world than me actually going in rehab, because I know my friends that rehab. What's really cool is when you create a note for someone and you lend them money. Unfortunately, some of my strategic partners were probably on this. They're doing all the work. They're doing all the sweat. They're making it happen. They're finding the property. They're rehabbing the property. And then when I give them a note and lend them money and create that note for them, all I'm doing is wiring money. So if I believe later down the road, I'm talking 5 to 10 years from now, it is straight up the note world. I don't have to worry about tour lists. I just have to worry about creating a note and creating leverage off a spread of money.
Awesome.
Are you guys there?
Yeah. There's a lag. I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah, but by the way, I don't think any of your strategic partners will even have a problem with what you just said, because I think they love working with you.
I'm only kidding. Nick, they don't give two shits about me. All they want is my money. That's all they want. They just want my money to be able to create a note, so that you never have to worry about anybody that starts raising capital or creating notes. Just remember one thing: they don't care about you. All they care about is the note they're going to create for you.
Right.
So you definitely started off with creative investing on steroids. You definitely got really creative in your beginnings.
Let me ask you this, Steve. Did you have a track record before you created your first note?
No. Well, no. I had a job. So just imagine, that was a little different. So no, because that's why I went to my best friend, because I knew he knew me for 20 years and I knew that he would lend me money. But I just want to make something very important. If you're getting into this note world and it's tied to raising capital, you need a securities attorney. Don't take advice for everyone, because I'm telling you, if you ask 50 people about the rules of raising capital and dealing with the notes in different states, a lot of the states are different. So if you do yourself a favor, you're not going to like what the securities attorney tells you, but I'm telling you, I've had Craig Sapetti from the very beginning. I was very argumentative with him at some times, but he kept me on the safe road, the disclosure road, and it really got me to where I am today, because I think I have a very good reputation into that private capital world. And there is no swaying in this world because you have these and things like that. So what was your question again, Nick? I'm sorry. I just got there.
Yeah. Did you have a track record? So you were saying that you started correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah. I had my first property was like $60,000. My best friend lent me the money. We created the note with Craig. The whole transaction through the title company. So my best friend, even though we were friends for probably 20 years, 30 years at that point, he didn't send it to my bank account. Everything has to be professional and go through the title company. I have like 200 investors now, and the money never comes to my bank account. I didn't have any money then. That's the greatest thing about either raising money or owning notes. Now, look, it's easier when you have money, right? But at that point, I didn't have the money to buy that that $50 or $60 or $80,000 property then. So that's a cool thing. How I didn't have the money to be rehabbing 9 properties at one time. So raising capital and creating private notes other than the bank, because think about it. You walk into a bank and say, hey, over the next 9 months, I'm going to rehab money for 9 different properties. So, come on, man. That's just not going to happen. So when you can go and start telling people what you do and teach them and show them how it works. Hey, I have a $50,000 property. You can use regular money or your IRA money, and I'm going to give you a note, a mortgage, maybe a confession of judgment, assignment of rents. I'm going to name you on the insurance policy. The lawyer, and you can have your lawyer look at it, and the paperwork's going to be done at the title company or the law, just like a regular bank would. I just copied what the regular bank did. Personal guarantees. Their wire is to go to the title company. You're going to buy the property, and the money's going to be dispersed. And you can even teach your lender to draw schedules. You want it to be the best possible way for your investor in the safest way, because what everyone misses is when you're creating these notes and you're lending money or you're borrowing money, you want to have that full disclosure, because my investors are my marketing arm. I do a lot of social media, a lot. People have probably had it up their ass with me with my social media, but I've never, ever asked for money as long as I've been on social media. That's not the way I do it. So if you go, well, how do you raise all that money and buy millions and millions and millions of dollars worth? It's my one investor, Mike, I remember, led to a doctor that lived next door to him. Well, I deal with Steve Lloyd. And then one just leads to another. So I used to be known as the Brownie King. Anytime someone got involved with me and did a private note for me that I helped them create, I would send them a gift, and it was brownies. And now it's a huge basket, and it's really awesome because they're not lending me $50,000 anymore. That's usually 500 or $1 million. But I also don't want. I want everyone to think of going slow in this world, not going super fast. Sit down with me, and they go, look at everything that you own. But I also say to them, keep it simple. There's so many people out there teaching all these things with the note world, pieces and shares and 3/4 of a note, and you take a quarter, all this crazy shit that's going on. And you sit there and ask me, and I go, keep it simple. Learn how to buy some 10 non-performing. Learn how to lend your money, your IRA. Teach someone that doesn't want to be in the stock market how to teach them how they can create their own note and mortgage and for yourself, or just want to lend money to someone else. So I think that's why I'm tiny loved, because when I'm helping somebody, it's just not about them helping me. I want them to go out there and be successful in this world, because I have so much gratitude today from the note world. It is my retirement. I don't do much of the stock market at all. Mine is all in private mortgages. So that's me lending someone I just lent somebody $150,000 out of my IRA. Come on, Nick, 13 years ago, we didn't know we didn't know Carl Fisher. We didn't know we could have a self-direct IRA, and didn't know that we could use that money to get 16% when we're lending money. So there's just Keep everything simple. When I hear of crazy note deals or crazy lending on real estate deals, don't get involved.
So for just to review, so you kept it simple. You worked with Craig. He created the loan with you and Mike. You worked with Mike for a period, and then from there, Mike started introducing you to his doctor, his friends, and that's when you realized, like, wow, this is how it works. When did you get into self-directed IRAs?
Yeah. So really, that's kind of a funny story. I met Carl Fisher when I was working with this guy Tom from Pittsburgh. Didn't work with him for a couple of years, but we would do events, and I saw Carl, and Carl had no personality. He was a rocket scientist working for NASA that started an IRA company. Carl has an actually amazing person, and I've taught him well with his personality and ball busting now, but Carl was just a humble guy that flew rockets, that started a self-directed IRA company from scratch, and it's turned into something huge, right? So I would literally be across the room when I was watching, went over and talked to him a couple times. I'm telling you, the third event that I did with him, my table was right next to Carl's. Why? Why? Because did I want to talk to Carl all day? No. But I'm telling you, everybody that walked up to his table were interested in self-directed IRAs. And why wouldn't I want 10 or 15 people or 50 people in a day that were walking up to Carl's table asking them, if I move my money from Vanguard or Fidelity and I move it to if I move it to CAMA Plan, when you move it to CAMA Plan, there has to be an investment to be made, right? You have to find someone to lend the money to or buy a property from. So I would sit there and just go, they'd be talking to Carl about, and I'm like, hey, I raise money. I can teach you how to do a note and lend money to me. So it was this softball that I was thrown right in front of me with becoming friends with Carl, 12 or 13 years ago. And I love Carl Fisher. I love Vicky, the family. I'm going to the Fort Lauderdale coach to help me pick out a year. So just smooze up to any of the self-directed IRA teaching companies and hang at their events with them because their people all need a place to put their money when they get it there. And usually the stock market is not an option.
Right.
And let me just carry on with that. If you're going to be in this business, if you're going to be in the note business, please do yourself a favor and don't go understand self-directed IRAs. Go be an expert at understanding self-directed IRAs. Because when you're looking for money or you're creating notes and you want to borrow money from people or you want to use your own money, it is one of the most powerful things. People come to me all the time and they go, how can I save money on my taxes? I don't want to pay taxes. And it's just so nuts. I go, it's right in front of you. Here's the softball, everybody. A self-directed IRA with a Roth or a 401k Roth. Every single penny I have today in my retirement accounts is in a Roth. Self-directed IRA Roth. And I'm telling you, I average 16%. I average 16. Some of my notes get 25 and 30. That's the beautiful thing about buying a non-performing note and then getting it up and running and say they were paying 600. You guys know the world. Non-performing, they were paying 600. We get them paying 300. We bought that note for 20 grand. The payoff is 60. And then I remember the first payoff I got from a non-performing note. The funny thing, Nick, is I didn't even know what happened, right? I made a mistake. So I know I'm all over the place, but tough shit. So I'm going to go to, so I took this non-performing note, we got it performing, right? And then about 9 months later, I remember I was sitting on my couch in my house in Westchester, and I went on FCI, and I saw this, it was around $62,000, and my account came in. And I'm like, I called Kerry, my partner. I said, I think they made a mistake. Somehow they just put, I see the FCI just put $62,000 in our account. And I'm sitting there. She's like, yo, dumbass. Kerry would never say that. She wouldn't call me a dumbass. She would probably think worse words, but she was, well, FCI, we just got paid off for a note. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we bought a non-performing note. We got it performing. The leverage was, I bought this thing for like 20 grand and we just got paid off $62,000. And when you have that experience, even though it was a dummy experience for me because I didn't quite understand it, I was all in, man. It was game time. It was like Van Halen, go buy some notes. Everybody I'm involved with, let's attack this note world. And it's funny, I get so free now. See, Nick, I'm starting to get worked up. You got me right in your little sweet spot when you get me all pumped up. So, it's kind of 8 and 9 years. Everyone was so crazy. The note world. The events were packed. Everyone was there. Everyone wanted to do the note world. They wanted to buy $500,000-$600,000 worth of notes. And I've watched over the past 5 or 6 years. There's very few note people left, right? And the survivors through that time when the prices went up. Right? Because I don't really care what I pay. I look at what I can make over a 3 to 5 year period where everyone wants to know what they can make in 3 months. Right? I want to know what I'm going to make in 5 years. But I can see the Fu Quans, the Martins, the Van Harns, the guys that are have created super, let's say, good wealth, passive income are the guys that survived over the past 5 or 6 years. And now it's making a comeback. Well, this note world takes time. You're a new guy. You got to hang in there and work. You can't work one note. You got to work 15 notes over a 2 or 3. You got to work 20 notes. But the average of those 20 notes, man, what do they say? Buy 10 notes. 2 are going to suck. 2 are going to be average. 2 is your money, and 2 are going to kick ass. And that overall thing is going to turn into 15 and 25 and 30% returns. And then you're going to get the payoff like I didn't realize that was that day. And you bought a note for 20 and that note, the payoff is 50 and the arrears and you get this $55,000 payoff. Come on, where can you do this shit without dealing with toilets and roofs and project managers and townships and all this bullshit that these rehabbers have to deal with? So I'm done my rant.
Awesome.
That was a good rant.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So just to recap, today's topic is pretty much how to raise capital and manage successful notes. So you mentioned you don't really ask for money, right? So when it comes to raising, you actually just focus on marketing, and you also network a lot. You make sure that you connect with the right people, and the next thing you mentioned is you don't learn something, master it, right? Build a skill set. Make sure you master that topic. For example, you're marketing yourself to raise further money without asking it directly and having people come to you. But you continuously marketing and over marketing to the point where you believe people are annoyed of it. But it doesn't matter as long as you're getting the point across. So moving forward, would you suggest any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Steve, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so pretty much, what are the different ways you do notes? So we spoke briefly about raising capital, marketing, mastering it, making sure to understand what it is in a self-directed IRA, the Roth, and making sure that you're able to create it for others as well if they need to, and point them in the right direction, right? So what types of different ways?
You're getting confused, but the main thing is how many different ways we can use them.
Right.
So, one, I lend money by creating a note when I lend somebody money. 2, I use my regular money, which I'm going to pay tax on that money. I really like working my IRA. So you can also buy a non-performing note, right? And create a workout through that note, right? You can also buy a re-performing note. Here you go. You remember this? Remember this? When 10 years ago, everybody was buying what? What was the whole note event about? About buying non-performing notes, right? Remember? This is what I talk about, keeping it simple. What was Steve Lloyd buying? I was buying all their gold, wasn't I?
I remember.
Remember, I was buying all the re-performing notes. All those guys took 8 months to work out, and I was buying millions of dollars of it, and I was raising money at 10, and I was purchasing, I'm talking $3, $4, $6 million of performing mortgages we're already paying, right? Because everyone sold their gold. They didn't want to wait for payment, and they didn't want to wait for payoffs. So I'm like, you know what? I don't like the sweat. I didn't want to do all that sweat equity to do the workouts. And I just said to everybody, I mean, PPR must have sold me $8 million worth of reperforming notes. It was a beautiful thing. So there's, not many people on this call this is really important. There's not many people on this call that are going to buy a reperforming note where they're getting a 14 or 15% return. And it drives me crazy because everybody wants to work the non-performing side to try to get the biggest returns. And if you think about Warren Buffett, he makes consistent returns over a long period of time. And I might be the dumbest guy out there, but I'm telling you what, I kicked a lot of their asses because they were greedy and they wanted to make a lot of money fast. And if you treat this note business on a long-term basis, I've been in this business for 12 years now, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean, look, I am not retired because I'm too crazy. I'm too crazy, but I'm basically retired, living in Siesta Key, chasing dolphins in a wave runner because of the freaking note world, because I own millions of dollars worth of notes, right? But so there's nothing wrong. My point is there, the people, maybe you start out, if you're a beginner, you start out with buying 2 or 3 reperforming notes instead of 2 or 3 non-performing notes. And maybe you just suck it up a little bit and be reasonable and buy that note and maybe get a 14 or 15 or 16% return instead of trying to get a 30% return in the beginning. And maybe that'll everyone loses money in the beginning. But I didn't, because I bought millions of dollars worth of notes that we're already paying. I didn't have to worry about not getting a workout done. So that's why there's 5 or 6 ways you can be in the note world and create massive success. It's just what is going to fill your cup to create the success for yourself. I chose to go sometimes with a lower return rather than the higher return until I learned the business. But, I don't really look for 50 and 60% returns that people brag about getting. I look for a consistent 15 to 18% return, and I'm telling you, it creates wealth.
It creates wealth. I agree with you. Yeah. So, slow and steady, and, keep it simple. Keep it stupid simple. That's it's a really good motto.
You're right. Let me interrupt. So I was that other guy. I was the guy that was buying at that time when you were buying performing notes. I was buying the non-performing. I was making it perform, and then we were selling it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think what we want to also point out here is, like, because Steve, you were buying performing, they were paying day one, and so all you had to do was just focus on raising capital, and making that difference in what you were paying for your cost of capital and what you're buying performing for. And making from this is what you made. But the real magic, I think, you didn't have to work on making these work. You could buy so many, and so you just had to focus on raising, and then the real money was when they did the payoffs, right? And it's like you weren't.
Nick, half the guys you probably have speaking today, I probably bought 4 or 5 or 6 million from Dave Van Horn, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Note, right? I probably bought them from Martin. I probably bought reperforming notes from all of your super successful people. Pretty cool, but they had a lot more sweating to do than I did. Yeah. But remember that time, Nick? All the people fell out from buying so much of the non-performing notes. Yeah. So go ahead.
The other thing that you do is really interesting is you kind of do like the opposite of what people do, because, like, to what I've been seeing on your Facebook, you've been selling your house and your real estate transactions that you entered in and got like 10 years ago when they were like for a significant discount, and then like the timing was just perfect. Like you wait for the market to go prime, and then when they go prime for a seller, that's when you exit. So it's like you're always doing the opposite of what normal people are doing.
I am pretty much have learned how to do the opposite of the herds. I don't know if you ever saw the split in the road, right? The herds go on the left, and it's usually Steve going to the right, and everyone's going, why Steve Lloyd that? But they don't have enough balls to go the way I'm going. And I'm telling you right now, I fuck it, I'll brag. I'm fucking kicking ass right now. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my entire life. I don't understand right now. If you have a $150,000 property and you're cash flowing $300 a month, okay, and there's $80,000 worth of equity, and COVID just pushed it up 30%. I'm cashing out. I'm out. I don't want $300 a month. I don't want with $300 a month in cash flow, $3,000 when I can put $500,000 in my pocket, right? So yeah, but the education here, not many. Most of the people on this call aren't where I am. But what I'm telling you, this is so important. Listen to me. If you're new in this business, don't look for instant gratification. I was at the lowest point in my life. I started out in this business and I made so many mistakes. 10 years ago, I have the paperwork to back it up. I was $2.2 million in debt, pacing the floors of my house. Sometimes I went too fast. Sometimes I was influenced by the wrong. It's just the nature of being in any type of business community like we are in this small community. And I'm telling you, the slow, methodical pace and learning, and stick with this over make a career out of it, not a job out of it. Make a lifetime out of it, not a short-term period out of it. And I promise you, you're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to fail. It just happens. But I'm telling you, my successful deals outgrew my bad deals over time. Because if you get a couple bad deals and you quit, then you're done. Nick, I just kept pushing forward, didn't I? I had all that time, that bad time at Temple with all those notes created there. It was really bad for me, and I just kept pushing through, and I just saw it's paying down. So if you own some rentals or you have some notes, I just want you to think about this. There was only one thing that I looked at every single month. This is going to help a lot of people. It was only when I was in my troubles, and I had a lot of mortgages from the bank and a lot of mortgages from private lenders. But one thing I looked at is the principal pay down of the mortgages I had. I wasn't cash flowing, a lot of debt, but what I knew is I had it was probably $25 million worth of loans, but I knew there was literally $20,000 a month that was coming off the principal of those loans. So it wasn't going into my pocket then over the years, but what I'm trying to, I might have had $18 worth of loans, but today, and I wasn't even cash flowing at Temple. Believe me, I was sucking. But now it's down to $8 million over 10 years. So it takes time. And what time gives you is even paying down the mortgages. And the greatest thing is a tenant could be paying down your mortgages, right? Paying down your mortgages, and then eventually we have a pop. I didn't know we were going to get a 15, 20% pop right now. So the timing is perfect for me because the mortgage paid down and that the market has gone up 15 or 20%. And then you go, oh my gosh, all those years of the pain, the suffering that I had to go through. I'm letting you know that there's a bright side to this. It's called time. And if you stick long enough in the note world, time will work on your side and you will create massive success. I know there's probably a lot of people that have bailed out of the note world over the past 5 years that wish. Are you guys awake?
Yeah, there was a little bit of breakup. So, Steve, you mentioned pain. So, what are some of the pains that you went through while you were dealing with this? Was it mostly yourself within, or they were not, because you were focusing on performing notes, right? So what are some of the pain that you received from going through all this headache and learning the business and moving forward?
Well, most of my stuff is always done with partnerships. I don't do anything on my own, lazy. So back then, a lot of that pain was just bad partnerships. So, one thing that I want you to teach you is, if we're talking about that, how I got in those situations was bad partnerships. So just because what you see on Facebook and social media, and all these social media channels, don't think that any of these guys are successful. Always prove out what you think. Usually not what it is. It's not reality. If you get into business with anybody, you got to think, if you do a joint venture. I just put a $500,000 of our own money to do a joint venture with someone. I've known this person for 5 years now. That's how long it took me to vet him. People, there goes greed again, right? This guy, I'm going to just give this guy my money. He's going to work out notes for me, and we're going to split the profit. I can tell you, better do due diligence, because I made that mistake. We'll talk about this that I've made. Jumping in with people too fast and learning later that they were wrong people to do business with.
So speaking of due diligence,
it's never do your due diligence. Get your securities attorney. Understand what's going on. Maybe you do a background check on your partner that you met on social media at one of these no places. Because I can tell you, I've been part of events for a long time. I've been part of events for a long time, and there's just a lot of just like nonsense guys that talk a good game, don't back it up. So that's where I failed. I mean, not really in the note world. I mean, not really in the note world. I haven't really failed. I mean, look, it's part of the, I wouldn't quite call it a fail. I did a $1 million loan for somebody. It's actually going on right now. I gave somebody $1 million. They're in default. But I'm not going to lose my whole $1 million. I only gave them 50% loan to value. So that property's worth like maybe 1.7, 1.8 million, maybe more now with COVID. I lent them $1 million, but that's because but we are a closure process. And you know what the crazy thing is? Someone just asked to buy my note. So I can go through the foreclosure process and maybe get 1.5 out if I want to take it back and sell it. Or I might just sell it off 1.2 million, and I'm going to make, with lawyer fees, I still might make $100,000. So, how I ended up in Siesta Key, are you kidding me? Okay, so you don't know, Nick knows. I live in Siesta Key now, and I own 8 units. A duplex that I bought for $800 that's worth $1.4 million. This is all through private notes that I used. I bought all this stuff through private notes, none of my own money. The Windsong property we're into probably 1 or 6, 1 or 1.5 was through private money. I bought it with private money, and then I went to the bank and I paid off my note holders. 0.5, somewhere around there, 1.6. It's got appraised for $2 million. So do you understand that this is going to freak you out, right? So I got these properties because I lent somebody here money on a real estate deal, and they defaulted on that real estate deal, and I these properties for payment. And I ended up living in Siesta Key. So when I had a bad note that went bad, it turned into a life-changing experience that I live. The beach is right there, my friend. Nick, you're hanging me up about not coming. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but you give me dates. You want to come in 2 days. But I'm chasing dolphins and wave runners because of what? I put 12 years into the note world.
There you go.
I put using that to leverage everything. This is crazy. A defaulted note. That's how I got here.
I want to say something.
Everyone. So just because you get in a bad situation, it doesn't end it.
Yep.
I want to say something. You said something so good at the last webinar that we did with you. You said, don't lend money or invest in an asset that you don't want to own. It like because if it
Correct.
goes bad, you're gonna own it.
Look, if you're
And I
gonna,
thought
if
that was
you're, yeah, I have never, the $1 million bed. It's in a great area. It's a great location. It's right next to a major highway. Whenever I lend money and create a note for somebody, I not lend money to someone or that asset if I wouldn't own it myself.
yeah.
So today I wouldn't, Chester, Pennsylvania, Camden, New Jersey, wherever. I mean, I'm making it harder than what I said. It's just spend money and create a note on a property that you wouldn't want to own if you wouldn't do the deal yourself. I think that's a very good way to look at it, because I know a lot of guys who've lent money on, looking at rate of return rather than where they were buying the deal. So that leads into, it leads into that, create the note and lend on a property that you wouldn't mind taking back if they go into default. I think it's a very smart way to do it. You don't want to get stuck with a piece of shit property, up in, that amazing, Jersey area.
Right.
Just kidding, Nick.
I also want to say this. You
I
have
love
at the last session that we did with you, you said something also really genius, which is you don't get your hands dirty. You don't do the rehab, you don't do the loan modification, and I think that's how you grew so fast, because you just focus on the same thing over and over, which was asset acquisition and raising capital. But how did you discover that strategy? Because it's a totally different strategy than.
Well, I think, yeah. So it all stemmed from, so most people don't know that I actually started PPR with Dave Van Horn, the legend, and Bob Paulus and Mr. Sweeney. So I was one of the partners that started with PPR. And then after like 6 months, Dave didn't like me anymore, and he fired me, and they bought me out. That's a joke. I loved it. We both love each other. So, but Dave wanted to get rid of me, so he got rid of me. I left. But then 3 months later, they needed $1 million, and he called me up and said, "Oh, I love you, Steve Lloyd, again. I love you. I love you. I need $4 million." So, and then what we structured it was amazing, right? So even though I left PR, I just didn't want to have 3 partners. It just, and I didn't want to do what, they wanted me to do. I'm a rebel, right? I'm not doing that. I was stubborn. But look what came out of that, right? Dave called me 3 months later and said, "Hey, I need $4 million to buy," true story. "I need $4 million. Can you get that for? Because we're taking down a non-performing second pool." And I said, "Well, how would we structure it?" And I said, "Well, let me open up a company, Stone Bay." This is how Stone Bay started. Opened up Stone Bay. I brought my investors in. I was paying them 10%. I gave it to Dave, the $4 million. Dave, this is so good, man. I'm getting myself pumped up. How long? We got 3 more hours left? So I lent the $4 million to Dave, right? He paid me a rate of return on that $4 million. I was making a spread at 8% on $4 million, right? Stone Bay's been instant profit, had instant profitability from month 1. Okay, got the payment from Dave investors, took the non-performing, made them re-performing, performing, and that's how they paid me back. So we put a value of like a 20 to 25% return on the notes, and Dave would send me all his notes that they just worked out for the quarter. And then I'd buy $500,000 worth of notes of his re-performings, and that paid down on the $4 million that he owed me. So we had like the perfect world going on. They wanted to do non-performing workouts. I wanted the re-performers. I needed to raise money, and I think I ended up giving Dave like, I don't know, 10 million. And then they did the workouts. And then Dave was such an amazing, kind, caring person. He even gave me warrant on my notes. So if they stopped paying, I knew. Remember the PPR warranty? I just used 2.
Wait, I thought it was only
last
like
week.
a year or 2
Still
years.
getting money from Dave. I love that. I had a special deal. I gave him $10 million. So I got, my warranty was up to the principal that I put in. And then they switched the shit. You know how everyone Dave.
Yeah.
They switched the shit.
Now
Tried to
warranty
switch the
doesn't
shit on me.
exist.
So it was
Steve,
great. I mean, me and Dave still do business. We're buddies. We lend each other money. Get an accountability coach. Get someone you want to do business with. I've known Dave since I've been 19 years old. We're in some IRA deals together. Funny to go. We were talking about earlier about just getting a rate of return. Dave did something, and on that deal, we're each getting a 12% return, not an 18% return. Everyone's supposed to think that Dave Van Horn and Steve Lloyd are getting 30% returns on their money. We're not trying to. I'd like to sometimes, but it was just funny. I'm just thinking of this. The deal that me and Dave are doing right now, that we're sharing and helping each other, we're each getting a 12% return in our IRA. That's it. 12%. 12% is going to make you wealthy. We're just spoiled. Everyone's spoiled. It's a fair, good return for me to do business with people. And if I don't like you, you pay 20, and if I like you, you still pay 16. So
that's so funny because it's like it was supposed to be a bad thing, but then it turned out good. Like it was like, oh, you guys broke up, oh, you got bought out, but then it's so cool because you were out and not a partner. Actually,
look, I was beyond. When I talk about Dave Van Horn, I know he's on another call, I think right now. But when you think about Dave, okay, so me and Dave are like brothers. We bitch each other, we grump each other, blah 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 blah. But it's out of love, right? He helps me, I help him. It's that me and Dave have fair exchange. Oh, look who showed up! Are you done from your Happy Meal at McDonald's? Where the hell you been? Well, at least you don't have Van Horn's book. How was lunch?
No, he wasn't at lunch. He was driving over.
You are like out with all these Asian guys.
We got the books over here.
All right, so what the hell was I saying?
So Steve Lloyd, I love what you said.
I've known Dave since I've been 18 years old, and it's been one of the best relationships. But I just want everyone to think about this. This is pretty deep, right? So if you go back 13 years ago, in the Northeast, basically, there was no note world. PPR brought you a whole industry. One of the reasons we're on this call is because PPR has been so successful at what they've done at training and teaching people. Go back to when PPR started. Dave went and how to do the non-performing world with Bob and John, who are incredible men. They've created a credible company. They're still around today. They're one of the big survivors. But they had no classes, and they taught you how to work out non-performing notes. He created a whole industry across the country. It's not like there wasn't non-performing notes years ago when Dave and I started the company, but man, this man has created a lot of income for hundreds of people. Created millions and millions and millions of payments for a lot of it. Mike Rusica. I mean, all these guys had a big, learning. Mike learned other places, but learned from PPR. It's amazing. He basically created an industry in the Northeast for us. So that's my play on Dave Van Horn. He's the best. This is great, but we still fight. So go ahead. I'll be quiet. What's next?
No, I think
Where's the other Asian?
Where's the other Asian guy? Show me.
I love how you when the opportunity came to you.
He's reading, and I'm just reading.
My man, Kerry says hi, David.
There's two of us.
There with my partner, Kerry Fakes. Look, he's all smiling and shit when I say Kerry.
So,
What's up,
yeah,
buddy? I love you.
Love you too, man.
I was saying, like, I think you covered everything because the big questions we had was how you got started with raising capital, and you went through that really well with talking about how you set your table up next to CAMA Plan, and then the concept of how you manage your fund. You didn't do a workout fund; you did a performing fund, and the funniest part is we just found out that it was like all like by mistake. You know, it wasn't like you decided to do a performing fund. It was you got kicked out of the partnership and you ended up cutting a deal where I'm going to buy your performing notes. And I think it worked out even better.
Well, guess what? Dave didn't come back to me because let's just always remember, everybody. If you can raise money, everybody wants you. Don't think that Dave Van Horn came back to me 3 months later because he loved me and we were good friends and we were sweethearts for 20 years. He came back to me. Why? Because I had money. So please learn how to raise capital the right way. If I can help you in a way, Nick, David knows that I'm willing to help everybody. Today, I'll express today and for a little while longer, I don't charge anything. I just want success for everybody. That is what my goal is. I always said, I talk to many, many people. As long as you don't take a bit of my time, I'll do all my time. I promise you. Because I want, I feel that everyone else's success is a part of my success. And we're one big happy family when we're investing in the note world. And that's, we all just need to help each other like you guys do all the time. You guys give so much exposure, so much education, and it's such a ridiculous, stupid value, but it's good because not everybody has money when they start out. So kudos to you guys for helping so many people.
Thank you for coming out and helping as well.
Book. We got the book. Where they can get the book. It's a.
You know what? I don't know where they can get the damn book. I don't. They'll figure. Google the shit. I don't know. Go on Amazon and put in the title. I don't know where to get the fucking book. I don't even have a copy of my own book. I don't know where. I don't know.
Success.
I swear to God, I don't have a
6 minutes.
copy of my book. I think if you go on Amazon, put in. I'm not sending out. You know, I don't got a link. I don't even know what a link is. You know how long it took me to get on this freaking webinar? It took 15 freaking minutes. I had to go get some girl to set up Chrome for me or some shit. You want to buy a note? Call me. You want to get set up for Chrome and come on? What a staggle. What are we on? Some crazy shit. So, all right, look, you guys are done with me. Thanks for everything, but you know what's the name of that book?
Thank you, Steve.
I'm just telling you, there's amazing there. I think there's Success Habits. What's the name of the book? I forget.
Success Habits of Super Achievers.
I can't see it. Yeah. So you know, read the book. Really, read that book. And you know, I'm a visionary. That's a gift that I have. I always look 5 years out and go, where am I going to be in this world? What am I going to do? What kind of investments? What kind of life? Who am I going to be with? Who's going to be surrounded with me? What friends are going to be in my corner? Whose corner am I going to be in? You know, read that book and read all the stories. It's $11 freaking. If you're a cheap rat bastard and you want it for free, I'll even pay for the postage. But read those people in that book and read, because there's a colonel in there, Tim Cole. He's just amazing success stories. And when you read that book, go 7 years from now, I'm going to be in my own success habit book, super achiever book, right? Read through that book. Say, I want to be a person in that book with the story of success in 5 to 7 years from now. That's how you read that book. Because life is about stories and being inspired. Stories and being inspired. I think we're probably way over time.
We are.
All right, love you guys. Peace out. I got to get away for the case of dolphins.
Thank you.
I'm the dolphin whisper, baby. You guys, see ya. Kick ass.
Thank you, Steve Lloyd. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. If anybody reach out, make sure get a copy.
Now.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks. Love you guys.
Thank you. Love you. Take care, brother. Be good.